Yoshi. Yoshi. Yoshi.
I think we pretty much know who Yoshi is at this point. He's that lovable mascot that started as a literal vehicle for Mario, before branching out into his own series, starting with Yoshi's Island on, yep, the legendary SNES! But before he was hot stuff turning into yarn and crafting materials, Yoshi was used for a few puzzle games, just to test the waters during the infancy of his fame. We're gonna check those games out today, so sit back, grab a coconut water, and let's do this. Like and subscribe! Yoshi's first excursion into puzzler territory was the blandly titled Yoshi, released in 1992, also known as Mario and Yoshi in Europe, and Yoshi no Tamago, or Yoshi's Egg in Japan. As a young lad, I used my paper route money to buy this one for the Game Boy, but let's look at the NES version first. Surprisingly, despite his name being the title, you don't play as Yoshi, no-oh. Instead, you control Mario at the bottom of the playing field, and he awaits various falling enemies such as Goombas, Boos, Piranha Plants, and Bloobers. Actually, those are the only enemies that appear. Groups of enemies drop from above onto the 4 trays Mario is holding, and he has to match them up to make them disappear by quickly swapping the trays around. Oh, but that's not all. If an egg bottom falls, you can plop it wherever you like and fill it with enemies until an egg top is placed on the pile, making everything crunch into the egg, and a Yoshi comes out. Make as many Yoshis as you can, from little ones to the coveted Star Yoshi, depending on how many enemies you squashed inside the precious Yoshi ovum. And that's it. I'd like to say that this is a game of skill, and it can be, but Yoshi is more about luck and dexterity. How quickly can you swap those trays, Mario?
I'm tired.
The game has 2 modes. A-type continues indefinitely, slowly increasing in speed until you overfill a column to the top of the playing field. B-type plays out until the board is completely empty, and scores you based on how long you take. The game also features a 2-player mode, which acts like B-type, where 2 players have to clear their board first. The Game Boy version plays identically, and is essentially a monochrome version on the go. There are a few minor changes, such as how many enemies you need inside the egg halves to form each type of Yoshi. This is due to the limited screen space, which in portable form holds 1 fewer vertical space. As well, to play the 2-player mode, you need a mighty Game-Link cable. Yoshi's alright, but it's also my least favorite of the Dino's puzzle trilogy. The concept gets old quickly, and you'll move on as the novelty wears off and is replaced by ennui. If you're still interested, it has been re-released many times on the Wii Virtual Console, Wii U Virtual Console, and the Nintendo Switch Online service. Wait, I was supposed to rank this, right? Okay, it's a D tier. I very rarely come back to this one. An October 2024 leak from Game Freak reveals that a sequel, titled Super Yoshi no Tamago, was set to appear on the Super Famicom, but it was cancelled for unknown reasons. And believe it or not, the code was actually used as a tech demo within the source code for Pokemon Black and White on the DS. Interesting. I guess. Who doesn't love a good cookie? Well, not this dude. And certainly not Yoshi, who once again strives for puzzler excellence in Yoshi's Cookie, tossed my way in 1993 for the NES, Game Boy, and indeed the legendary SNES. And let me tell you, if that last game puts you to sleep, Yoshi's Cookie will wake you up, because this one is way more entertaining, despite its simplicity. Yoshi's Cookie was originally going to be an arcade puzzle game called Hermetica, but initial players didn't care for it, so its developer, Home Data, makers of, well, a lot of games you've probably never heard of, they sold their rights to Bulletproof Software, who created the Super Nintendo version, while Nintendo worked on the NES and Game Boy versions. They slapped recognizable Mario and Yoshi into the mix and boom! Instant success! All three play relatively similarly, although the Super Nintendo version does have one major difference that I'll delve into in a moment. Shake and bake! Your ultimate goal in single-player mode is to eliminate all of the cookies on the screen by lining up cookies of the same type in rows or columns to make them disappear. Or be munched by Yoshi if the box art is to be believed. You use the reticule to shuffle entire rows and columns around. And once all their cookies are gone, the stage is cleared. Beware though, more cookies will be on their way if you don't remove them all quickly. Ooh. And of course, get rid of as many cookies in a row as possible to rack up them points! And that's it. While that sounds a little dry, not unlike some of these bodacious biscuits, I actually enjoy this one tons more than that last game. Things get progressively more difficult as cookie piles increase in size and the game speeds up, but it's not maniacally tough. Throughout the 100 levels, you'll get a good grip on things, especially once you discover that by removing 15 of the same type of cookie, you'll generate a Yoshi cookie, wild card of sorts that can help you in your time of need. But what if you find a friend who also enjoys cookieing? You can play a 2-player mode where your goal is to earn more points than your opponent faster by quickly removing cookies from a constantly refilled board. This time around though, you get a Yoshi cookie after every row or column eliminated. And by removing a set of Yoshi cookies, you'll get a random effect to happen. Like Slave, where you take over your opponent's cursor for a short while, or Panic, where the other player's field becomes scrambled. Blind is annoying. Putting a square shade over the playing field? Don't do that. Don't do that. No, that's just not nice. Of course, if you don't have a buddy, just play against the CPU and claim dominance over AI from 1993. If you bought the Super Nintendo version, you'll get all the bells and whistles above, plus superior graphics and sound. Plus, and that's the second plus, you'll be treated to a puzzle mode as well, which requires you to clear a board of cookies using a specific number of moves. This one will tax your brain, yes it will. All the puzzles were designed by Tetris creator Alexei Pajitnov, so blame that guy if your brain was overtaxed. But the fun didn't stop there. If you were a lucky fella, you could get Yoshi no Cookie, Kurupan Oven de Cookie, a cartridge limited to 500 copies released by Panasonic of all companies under their national brand. This one worked with an actual oven, showing the player how to make the tasty cookies seen in Yoshi's Cookie. The game was also remade as part of the Nintendo Puzzle Collection for the GameCube. This one was also Japan exclusive, but it did have a nice fresh splash of paint, so that's lovely. Yoshi's Cookie was also re-released on the Wii Virtual Console, but unfortunately it hasn't been seen since. Overall, I find Yoshi's Cookie to be a relaxing game that can whittle away a couple of my human hours on a rainy Tuesday evening. It might be the nostalgia talking a bit, but I honestly think Yoshi's Cookie rocks my shortbread. It's totally an A-tier game, and one that any classic collector should have in their library. Yes, Yoshi and Tetris once went hand in hand, like peanut butter and jelly, or me and a succulent lemon loaf. Ooh, yeah. In Tetris Attack for the legendary SNES! But believe it or not, and there's really no reason not to believe this, Tetris Attack didn't start out as a Yoshi game, and it was never really meant to be a Tetris game for that matter. It began life as Panel de Pon for the Super Famicom in Japan, a puzzle game starring pretty fairies. Monsters enter their otherwise chipper world and cast a spell to turn the fairies evil, so better use a block stacking mechanic to solve this problem. Cuteness like that is much appreciated in Japan, but in the rest of the world? No way. But you know what is hip and popular? That's right, Tetris. People love Tetris. They play it all the time. And they also love Yoshi. He's cool with his green inflated face. So with a fresh coat of Nintendo paint, Panel de Pon transformed into Tetris Attack. The general goal is simple, yet complicated. Within the playing field, you need to match blocks of the same color either vertically or horizontally to make them disappear. As you do so, new blocks slowly emerge from below, and you must continually make blocks disappear to keep going. Matching 4, 5, or even more at a time scores you bonus points! plus a brief freeze on the movement of the playing field. Other complications, such as gross garbage blocks, also enter the fray from time to time, just to keep things interesting. And that's it. Yep. The game offers several modes of gameplay. Endless mode is exactly that and nothing else, unless you ever lose, in which case it ends. Can you play endlessly? A time trial mode will get you to rack up as many points as you can in 2 minutes. Stage clear mode has you visiting many of the local Yoshi Islanders and getting through their story, so to speak, by completing 5 stages where you must get your pile of blocks below a predetermined finish line. Puzzle mode will test your brain by giving you a limited number of block swaps to make them all disappear. And of course, play versus mode to spend quality time with the CPU, or even a friend or a loved one. The Western version, featuring all Yoshi characters, was re-released in Japan as BS Yoshi's Panapon, alongside the original Panel de Pon, using the Super Famicom's Satellaview service. And oh look! A Game Boy port! It's in monochroma tones, but it plays more or less the same as the Super Nintendo counterpart. Nintendo must have loved the concept to keep it alive with the aid of Pokemon, with 2 puzzlers themed around the same core gameplay as Tetris Attack. Pokemon Puzzle League for the Nintendo 64, and Pokemon Puzzle Challenge on the Game Boy, both released in 2000, replaced Yoshi with Pokefolks but kept the block swapping mechanic. A Nintendo 64 sequel that remained unreleased was bundled in with the Nintendo Puzzle Collection for GameCube, as well as Dr. Mario and Puzzle League for the Game Boy Advance. The Nintendo DS also saw a pair of block puzzlers, Planet Puzzle League, with the same gameplay but weird, funky, futuristic graphics, and Puzzle League Express, a shaven-down DSiWare port. Panel de Pon has also seen re-releases on the Wii Virtual Console in Japan, and you can catch it on the Nintendo Switch Online service. Sorry if you wanted Tetris Attack featuring Yoshi. That title's licensing costs would suck. Oh, I have to rank this one too? Well, I like the game well enough, but I don't come back to it as often as Yoshi's Cookie, and I find the gameplay to get a little stale after so many levels. It's a B-tier game. There's nothing inherently wrong with Tetris Attack, but there are other puzzle games I much prefer. You may rank it higher, and that's fine. Thank you for watching! Yoshi says you should like this video and subscribe to this channel to show your support for classic gaming and other retro content. I agree. Listen to Yoshi. That guy knows stuff.
Poochie.